Hi class, and welcome to week 7 of Women Mentoring Women in the online course. And in the last few weeks, we've been building up to talking about how you're going to develop your ministry teams, your mentoring ministries and programs within your church or a parachurch organization, just in your own life. And this week, as you'll note with the PowerPoint, that the topic is the keys to effective mentoring. Now, it seems like we would have already touched on this somewhat at the beginning when we said, what is a mentor? What does that look like biblically, secularly, just spiritually in our lives? What does that look like? And this effective mentoring, moving more into actually, say you have that program developed, like you're going to be doing in your final project. And now once you're in those relationships, what are some key ways in helping those to foster and continue to remain healthy and successful as far as the Lord will allow it? And you'll notice with the PowerPoint that it's going to be here effective mentoring both on an individual level and then at the team level, and there's just sort of a good mix there in the PowerPoint for you on these different topics, and of course throughout the two textbooks as well. But I want to walk through just these discussion on the slides as you look through them and go back through them and can remember what I'm saying here and go back and watch this video. But it starts the PowerPoint with just a couple questions there opening. Starting with under the Effective Mentoring tab, what have been the main reasons that people's lives have influenced you? And I just have that in there to have you take a minute to really think about what are some things people have done for you in your life as they've mentored you, as they've loved you and walked alongside of you that have really made the difference in your life. I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in trying to be formal and studying all about mentoring and doing the right things and hearing the right things from our textbooks and the lectures and things like that we're reading, and we forget how simply we've learned great truths already in our lives by the people that have walked with us. Maybe it's a coach, maybe it is someone in your church or a relative or just a person that's walked with you and mentored you. Take a minute this week even just to stop, journal about that. What is it about those people that so influenced my life that actually made the difference? And how am I going to bring that into my relationships? And then in reverse, what are some times that people have maybe done some things that you would avoid in your mentoring relationships? I've had friends who have had mentors take it a step too far sometimes, and not that they didn't want to hear a harsh word, but that harsh word maybe came a little too soon, a little too harsh, and they've been very careful in their own relationships to be mindful of how to speak criticism and when, because of those things that have happened in their own life. So take a minute this week and just reflect on that. And the second part of that was take time to identify what you believe to be the most important parts, quality points of mentoring, and how will you bring those into your relationships. A phrase that I like to say a lot, and actually that you might have heard me say in other videos I've put up here, is a phrase I like to call ministry of presence. And what I mean by that is just the ministry of you, of being there. And not to say that we don't get people to consider the text and their lives to be changed by obviously the Word of God, but the ministry of you, the presence of your life being there. When I was 14 years old, just before I turned 14, I was a week before that this month, that anniversary will come up. My mother passed away from an unexpected brain tumor, undetected even. We didn't know that she had it, and after a week of finding out that she did have it, she passed away. I turned 14, and the very next week, her mother, my grandmother, died from melanoma cancer. So needless to say, it was a very challenging time, but I had just gotten saved, and I was one of the only believers in my family, and so the Lord really showed me that I was to be a light to my family during that time, and I have been ever since. That's been my job. But God just truly brought some amazing friends into my life at that time from the local church that I met at school. They were the ones that really rallied around me and loved me, their moms and their dads, and loved on my dad and me and my sister. But also a coach in town that I had known since I was younger, and she'd always tried to get me to play volleyball as a big softball, tennis player. And she finally that year talked me into coming to try out for her volleyball team, and I did. And to this day, she is one of the greatest influences in my life for many reasons. But I've been thinking about her this week a lot. But one thing that she used to do with us as athletes was every beginning of the preseason of the volleyball seasons, she would have us to design a folder, and it would be pictures or your goals or whatever, just all over it. And we would pass this back and forth with her throughout the whole season. And she would put forms in there that we'd need to know things about just being healthy and some things that we could try in our own life for exercise and health, but also a form every week that evaluated our performance, our goals, what we were doing, different things, and then we'd pass it back to her, and then she would write in it, dialogue with us, get it back to us. So this semester, I'm teaching one of my first in-class classes all by myself, and I'm doing that with the 9 students I have, and this is one of their folders. And so each week when I receive this back, I just put a new sheet with a prompt in there that they write in, and then I'm dialoguing back with them by hand, and I just hope that'll be a good treasure for them when they leave this semester. So that's one thing that I have benefited from with my mentor, just her ministry of presence in my life, just knowing that she's there for me and she's on my side no matter what. And also just the ongoing dialogue with her through these folders and what a treasure that was for my life. And now I'm repeating that cycle, doing it with the relationships that I'm in today. So that's one example from my life that I want to share and maybe prompt you to what I'm hoping you'll do this next week. If you go on down in the PowerPoint this week, and after the slide that says, hello, I am your mentor, you'll see the mentoring models. And I think these are pretty self-explanatory. They're just some examples that you can bring further into your programs that you do or your ministries. Obviously, you see they're needs-based. If there's maybe a mentoring program based on specific things such as grief, divorce, young college-aged, singles. But then again, you may not want to segregate things so much because the church is one. And so we don't always have to segregate, but it's just some ideas sometimes because people can relate better possibly to people that are going through the same thing as they are in that same season. Soulmate, traditional mentoring, and this is an ongoing relationship, perhaps for a year, shorter, longer, but just again, the older, younger type of traditional mentoring and pairing that we have there. Secret sister, I think that's pretty self-explanatory of the anonymous pairing there that can go on for a period of time. Discipleship, we've covered that a lot this semester. Encouragers, connecting people to support and exhort one another. You know, some people are more gifted in the giftedness of encouragement. And I have the gift of encouragement. Sometimes, it, just like any other good thing, can go bad. I can do too much because immediately in any situation I'm thinking how to encourage them. And sometimes I can even just do so much that they are like, okay, enough. I know you love me. But I'm an encourager, you know, and you can send me in to go encourage someone. And it doesn't mean it has to be this necessarily long-time thing, but find those people that are encouragers, that have that gift from God, and plug them in with other people that need that encouragement. But also always remember that encouragers need encouraging themselves. And a mentor, another mentor of mine, actually pointed that out to me one time. You know, he said, Courtney, you're such an encourager, and if you are, let's say, a switchblade salesman, to be able to sell switchblades, you've got to have switchblades to sell. So as an encourager, you've got to have encouragement yourself to be able to give it. So use those people in your ministry, but also remember that they need it too to be able to continue to give it out. Prayer partners, accountability partners there, a lot of times those can go hand in hand. About 6 years ago, 6 and some change, a good friend of mine and I were on one of the school trips to Israel with New Orleans Baptist Seminary. And during the trip, we were roommates and we decided to start praying together during the trip, just in the evenings. And when we got back, we said, hey, let's pray on Sunday nights together. And we didn't live at the same place at the time, so we'd call. And now it's been 6 years, and both of us have lived in numerous time zones. We've never, I can't recall if we've ever lived in the same time zone. But that's been a sweet, unexpected relationship in my life. So look for those to develop in your own life and see how maybe you can help create those in your ministries. And that's just a sweet, every week we just spend an hour together talking. We take about 30 to 40 minutes to just catch up about our week, what's going on with you, what's going on with me, and then pray together maybe about 20, 30 minutes. And it's just been a sweet encouragement in my life, and it has rolled into accountability partner, which I didn't expect. So you can maybe bring that as well into your own life and your ministries. Next, you'll find developing your mentoring team. And these are just some points that, and we've alluded to some of these earlier on, but just more specific here. This is as you are being the leader of those ministries and leading that in your church or, again, parachurch organization. The first one there, determine where you need leadership. Really pray and seek and ask the Lord to show you, where can I delegate? And I have there, you can do anything. You might be able to do anything, but you can't do everything. And goodness knows that I struggle with this just as much as any woman who's a leader, because I think somewhere in all of us we want to be Martha, whom I love and adore because she was such a strong woman and very practical, and she proclaimed Christ, one of the first ones to say, "You are the resurrection," in John 10. But we need to have a mix of the Martha in there. We've got to be able to sit still and worship as well, and be mentored and discipled. So look to where you can delegate. Please don't try to do everything on your own. We're often good at that, but sometimes we can get so overwhelmed and busy and wrapped up with the ministry that we don't even stop. We don't even feel like we have time to stop to ask for help. So at some point, we've got to realize, I've just got to stop and sharpen this axe, rather than swinging at it with a dull blade over and over and over. So take time to just assess your ministry. Where can I delegate? Where can I bring some other leadership into this to make it stronger for all of us? The second one there, develop opportunities to serve based on descriptions. I think this is very important. If you can develop some descriptions of things that you want to see happen in your ministry, perhaps you want someone that can write encouragement cards or encouragement emails throughout the week. You write that description up, and someone can see that and say, yes, that's me. Or someone that can make phone calls, or even just bring snacks to the meetings, or whatever it is. If you have a description there, you might be likely to get more people and find their giftedness than just throwing out, I need your help, and then we're just throwing people in where they're not gifted and maybe feeling uncomfortable. And this way it could help with better recruitment, just to be organized and getting people plugged in based on where their strengths are and what they actually want to do. The last one there, and I included the picture of the Hobbit and the crazy band of dwarves because I love that series. If you haven't seen it, it's just wonderful, and read the book too. But just this wily band of guys that are together. But pray and ask the Lord to bring the leaders. Of course, this is so important, as we've mentioned before and we've talked about in the discussion board as well. Just asking God. Jesus said that the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest to send the workers. And of course, that means evangelism out into the world, but raising up his children. God, raise people up that would want to disciple and be a part of this team and this ministry and have a passion for that. Down below that one, again, just continuing on, looking for those who are already involved in the ministry and making those needs known, starting with small needs and then growing from there. But if you have people that are already naturally involved, maybe in your youth group situation or your women's ministry, approach them. Would you be willing to go even further and be a one-on-one mentor or lead this small group? So who's already there that you can just join in with what's already going on? And lastly there in that slide, meet and talk with potential leaders. And Samuel there going out to find David, and again delegating for a small up to a big. I worked for a large church in South Carolina, and I only bring up that description of it because I worked there for 3 years, and I worked in the youth ministry team as a minister to teenage girls. And one thing I learned there, which I think can happen at any church, but it specifically did because of the numbers we had there. But the youth minister taught me. He'd been there many years. He's a little bit older in age, so had a lot of experience. That youth ministry is 1/3. It's really a much smaller percentage of youth. It's youth, but it's also a third parents, and it's also a third volunteers. And so you really need to give attention to all of those things. And so we really took efforts to have once a month meeting, and we provide lunch for people after church. Now I don't know if you're able to do that in your situation, but just invite them to come and hear about opportunities and talk with them and seek out potential leaders and calling that out in them, not just scratching around or just trying to manipulate people or pull them in, but genuinely seeing people that you believe could make a difference, or that kids are drawn to, or that women have rapport with. And even women, look at their season of life. Maybe you have someone who is not as busy as maybe a younger mom or someone like that, but that has more free time on their hand, a retired person or someone that really could plug in and invest the time right now. So just be willing to meet and talk and take that time to do that. And another event we would do at that church with college students. We called it Lovin' from the Oven. So we'd invite them for lunch, and that was to encourage them, but also to invite them into the ministry. So maybe you can do a Lovin' from the Oven and talk with potential leaders in your church. Moving down there to the next section where you have the Keep Calm and Find a Mentor picture there, finding your own mentor. And the first part of that just discusses people who are seeking a mentor. And what does that look like? What are some ways that you can encourage them? And you can read there, you would encourage someone